I mean, I'm
All right, now 3 o'clock chat here. The Trailblazers got off to a hot start last night, but a 23-2 run by the Nuggets late third into the fourth secured a 112-103 victory for Denver. DeAndre Ayton, awesome. Put up a season-best 27 points, pulled down 9 rebounds. Portland now gets 3 days off. Next up, the Detroit Pistons. Thursday night at Moda Center. Tip-off is set for 7. A friendly reminder, the NBA trade deadline is Thursday at noon. Super Bowl 58, Sunday at Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas. Chiefs and 49ers kickoff scheduled for 3:30 on CBS. Latest check of the line has San Francisco favored by 2. According to reports, the Seahawks are set to hire Jay Harbaugh to be their special teams coordinator. Ryan Grubb being considered as offensive coordinator. Trailblazer Ticket Tuesday tomorrow. We'll have a pair of tickets, 2 pairs of tickets to give away on the Rip City Drive at 4 and at 5. And Brooke Olzendam will join the show at 4. For all of your ticket needs, go to trailblazers.com. All right, big week here on the Rip City Drive. What's up, my friends? Chad Doing here. I do appreciate your time. We got the big game coming up on Sunday with the Chiefs and 49ers. Allegiant Stadium down in Las Vegas. Kickoff is at 3:30. It'll be on CBS, which means, 4 straight hours of Tony Romo slobbering in Jim Nance's ear. I don't know if I can take it. So we got a big game coming up on Sunday. I'm looking forward to the matchup. I'll tell you why in a moment why the game is twisting me up all on the inside. A big week here on the show. We're coming up on Friday. Dwight and I are going to be at the Jackson's Food Mart right across the freeway from my current location. It's off Bangy Road, I-5 and 217 in Lake Oswego. You can see the Jackson's Shell Station right there from the freeway. We're going to be broadcasting the Rip City Drive live from the cooler, which is set at a frosty 37 degrees between 3 and 6 on Friday afternoon. I want you to come by. You can enter to win Trailblazer tickets just by stopping by to say hi. You can grab some beverages, some ice-cold frosty beverages, and some snacks for the big game on Sunday. Say hi to us. We're going to be out there chilling for a cause. Everything that we do, all proceeds will benefit ALS Northwest. Now, on top of the event, we're trying to drive everyone to our auction page. So if you go to ripcityradio.com, you can scroll down to the bottom of the homepage. You'll see the icon for Chillin' for a Cause. Or you can actually go to our calendar page or event page. You'll see the icon for Chillin' for a Cause. And from that page, you'll find the link for our auction items. I'll explain the items more in detail later in the show. But go there and place a bid. We got some great items up for bid. Trailblazer basketballs, which are autographed pennants. We've got an autographed Scoot Henderson jersey. We have your chance to host the Rip City Drive for 3 hours. Or you can join me at a Trailblazer game and be a member of the media as a Trailblazer reporter and be able to take part in the post-game press conference. All of those things are up at the auction page. Go to our website, ripcityradio.com. Scroll down to the bottom, find the icon for Chillin' for a Cause, and then go to our auction page. All proceeds benefit ALS Northwest. That's coming up on Friday, 3 to 6 at the Jackson's Food Mart off Bangy Road at I-5 and 217. All right, Dwight is out until Friday. He's got the next 4 days off. He's taking some vacation time. Coming up on the show, we're going to go down to San Francisco at 4:20, and we'll talk with Evan Giddings. He's with 95.7 The Game, and we'll get his take on the Super Bowl, but also the cottage industry, which has popped up now where people are taking shots at Brock Purdy. So I want to get his take on Purdy. I want to know what he thinks about the game, the matchup, and how he sees it going down. At 5:20, Dave Softy Mahler from KJR in Seattle is going to join the show. I'll get his take on the hire of Mike McDonald, who is the new head coach of the Seattle Seahawks. Also his thoughts on Jedd Fisch taking over at UW. And we'll get his take on the Super Bowl as well. My guess for Softy, this is just a guess, he's a big-time Seahawks fan. He hates the 49ers, so I'm guessing he's going to be all on the Chiefs this weekend. So Dave Softy Mahler at 5:20. If you want to hit me up on X, you'll find me there at Chad and Rip City. You can join us on the live stream right now, youtube.com. Go to our homepage, Rip City Radio 620, and you'll find the live link for the show right there. You can also call the program at 503-248-0620. Join us this Friday at the Jackson's Food Mart off Bangy Road at the corner of I-5 and 217 for Chillin' for a Cause. And we'll broadcast from the 37-degree cooler. That is frosty. I can't wait to see The Godfather miserable for 3 hours. You can imagine what that's going to be like. All right, I want to start with the Super Bowl. And let me give you a little bit of background on me. Not sure you want that, but I'm going to give it to you anyways. Look, I'm not a scout, and I've never been a coach. I've played some sports, but I have watched more hours of the NFL than I can possibly count, dating back to 1986. That is when it began for me. From 1986 all the way up until present time, I have done so much watching of football, especially the NFL. I would watch games live, and I would record games on VHS tape, and then I would rewatch them over and over and over again. I did the same thing with NBA games, especially the playoffs and NBA finals. For decades, religiously watch and rewatch, and often the second or third or 10th time through was my favorite because I would pick up on all these items that I missed the first time through. Now, because of all the time I wasted growing up watching games over and over again, it gave me an eye for what's great and really what's not. Now, I'm still an idiot. I thought C.J. Stroud would bust. Coming out of Ohio State, I thought he was surrounded by great talent with the Buckeyes, and he was the benefactor of that. And right now, the guy's probably top 5 QB in the NFL. Heck, I thought Caleb Swanigan should start at power forward for the Blazers his rookie year. So I miss it a lot, but I do know greatness when I see it. And I would imagine for a lot of you, that's the same. And I'll never forget this date. October 1st, 2018. I'll never forget it because it's the first time I've seen a quarterback live in person, and I walked away saying, that's John Elway. That guy right there is as good as John Elway. It was a Monday Night Football game, Chiefs at the Broncos, October 1st, 2018. And it's hard for me to admit that because Elway is my guy. I hold him in high regard. But that's Patrick Mahomes. The Broncos led the game 23-13 in the fourth quarter, and he led 2 touchdown drives in the fourth to win the game 27-23. In that comeback, it included a scramble completion on 2nd down and 30, which allowed them to get a first down on 3rd down, and the most ridiculous left-handed pass running at full speed on 3rd down to Tyreek Hill for a first down, and he also converted a 4th down on the drive. I marveled at Mahomes' arm strength. I couldn't believe the athleticism, and I was shocked at his poise operating the offense in his first full year as a starter working with Andy Reid. It was mind-boggling. I'm like, how can this guy be so good? On that night, early in his career, I was comfortable saying he was the best quarterback I had ever seen. And that seemed ridiculous at the time, but it's exactly what I believed. I truly believed it. I had never seen anything quite like it. Patrick Mahomes was unbelievable. Now, I didn't voice that at the time because people get so hung up on the rings and the whole GOAT debate. How can you argue that Brady's got X number of rings? And then you instantly look loony. But I knew that night that I was looking at an all-timer in Patrick Mahomes. Now, I've seen most of the greats in their prime in my lifetime. Joe Montana, Elway, Dan Marino, Jim Kelly, Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, Drew Brees, Big Ben, Troy Aikman, you name it. I've been fortunate to see the greatest quarterbacks of all time in their peak, but I've never seen one like Mahomes with the ability to win, the smarts, the arm strength, the athleticism. He's got the entire package. There's nothing he cannot do on a football field. So let me explain why I'm so twisted up on this Super Bowl. If you just look at it on paper, and I don't care if you're a Chiefs fan, a 49ers fan, or you're a person that hates both teams competing in the Super Bowl, if you step back and look at it on paper logically and ask yourself the following questions. Who's got the best quarterback? Well, that's the Chiefs. They've got Patrick Mahomes, the best in the NFL. All right. Who's got the best coach? Well, that would be Andy Reid. He's got multiple championships. He was great in Philly, and look at what he's done in Kansas City. Now, Kyle Shanahan is a phenom and is great, but right now Reid is an all-time legend. Oh, and don't forget this. Who's got the best defense? Well, that'd be the Chiefs. They're number one. Quarterback, coach, defense, check, check, check for Kansas City. Now, take that information, best quarterback, best coach, best defense, and a team that's been there and done that and knows what it takes to win a championship, and then take a look at the line in Vegas. Right now, the 49ers are favored by 2. So in my mind, I'm like, okay, let me get this straight. I get the quarterback in Mahomes, I get the best defense, and I get the best coach in Reid, and you're going to give me points? It's a no-brainer. Kansas City all day. And that's where I get twisted up. And it goes back to what might be the best advice my dad ever gave me. And he said, hey, Chad, if it looks too good to be true, it probably is. Chad, if it looks too good to be true, it probably is. And right now, my mind can't see a pathway for the 49ers. The Chiefs getting points looks like free money, and that's why I think San Francisco is probably going to win. I think by game time, people will be pounding Mahomes and Reid and the Chiefs, and they look over on the other side and they see Brock Purdy, and it very well could go the opposite direction and be a Niners wipeout. That line is very fishy to me. So that's why I'm twisted up, because when I look at it simply, Mahomes, Reid, best defense in the NFL, yeah, I like that team. And I think the majority of people look at it that way. They're like, yeah, the 49ers are really good, but freaking Mahomes and the defense. Mahomes is the best. I just can't believe how good he is. I hate the Chiefs with all of my heart, but Mahomes is so good that I've got nothing but respect for him and how he operates. It's mind-blowing. In fact, if you go back to that day, October 1st of 2018, that night, that moment when I was suffering because of what Patrick Mahomes did to the Broncos, it inspired me to make this.
I was kind of just scrambling left, and I knew I couldn't throw it with my right hand, and I knew. Tyreek, and he got the first down. I mean, it speaks volumes to this team and like how much heart and determination that we have. The running backs, the receivers, everybody's kept fighting, and we came out with the win.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but no quarterback, the greatest of all time, should not sound like a Muppet. I'm sorry. You shouldn't sound like that, but he does. It's the only knock I can have on him is why does he sound like that? And he's got the dad bod, too. I saw that thing online where they had the split photo of like Mahomes with his pork belly. He had a little pony cat working. and like the man boobs, and then it was next to Brady at his combine photo, and it said the two greatest quarterbacks of our generation. I have a special place in my heart for guys who are oddly misshapen but can go out and ball like a mother. So that's why I'm twisted up, because on paper, Mahomes, Reed, and the best defense, there's no way they're going to lose that game. And that's what scares the daylights out of me. All right, we're going to talk with Softy at 5:20. We'll go to San Francisco and focus in on the Niners with Evan Giddings at 4:20. When we come back, we'll talk a little more football, but I've also got some thoughts on Scoot Henderson and work ethic, and I've got an example of what these young players are doing now to really take their game to the next level. That's coming up next on the Rip City Drive here on your home of the Blazers, 620 Rip City Radio. All right, please stop by and say hi Friday, February 9th, this coming Friday at the Jackson's Food Mart off Bangy Road at the corner of I-5 and 217. Chilling for a cause. We're raising awareness and money for ALS Northwest. Dwight and I are going to be in the 37-degree frosty cooler for 3 hours doing the show. Michael Shacker will be there. If you stop by and say hi, you can enter to win Trailblazer tickets. And I've got more on the auction items coming up here in a few minutes. I wanted to play this for you real quick. I'm stunned. I spent all weekend trying to absorb the loss of Carl Weathers.
Damn, Rod, come on! What's the matter with you? There is no tomorrow. There is no tomorrow. There is no tomorrow. Ding, ding.
I can't believe it. I was sitting there getting ready to get my hair cut on Friday at the salon, and I was scrolling through the news, and I came across that headline, Carl Weathers passes away at 76. I'm like, no! How can that be? Like, one of my favorite movie characters in the history of my life, Apollo Creed. I just can't believe the impact those movies had on me at a young age. And then look at his career, long and illustrious. In the Heat of the Night was a great show. Predator was awesome. He and Schwarzenegger together. Apollo Creed on the Rocky movies, legendary. And then, of course, Chubbs Peterson on Happy Gilmore. So I just spent the weekend thinking about my life and the people in my life and the people I'm close to and the friendships and how important those are to me and how we don't know how long we have on this planet. That you got to enjoy it. And you've got to tell the people around you that you love them because it can be gone in an instant. But we don't function like that because we don't think that that's going to be us. And I came across this. I don't know if you've heard it, but Sylvester Stallone with a message after he got word that Carl Weathers had passed away. Take a listen.
Today is an incredibly sad day for me. I mean, I'm so torn up, I can't even tell you. I'm just trying to hold it in because Carl Weathers was such an integral part of my life, my success, everything about it. I give him incredible credit and kudos because when he walked into that room and I saw him for the first time, I saw greatness, but I didn't realize how great. I never could have accomplished what we did with Rocky without him. He was absolutely brilliant. His voice, his size, his power, his athletic ability, but more importantly, his heart, his soul. It's a horrible loss. And I'm standing here in front of this painting because it was probably the last moment we were ever in the ring together, and I'll never forget it. He was magic. And I was so fortunate to be part of his life. So, Apollo, keep punching.
Just keep punching, Apollo. Rest in peace, Carl Weathers. Freaking legend. Absolute freaking legend. I cannot believe he's gone. Oh, I hate that. That's the part that sucks about getting older is the people you know, friends, family members, loved ones, entertainers, people you grew up with, they pass away. And it's that transition in life that's difficult to embrace because we're never prepared to deal with the loss of human life. We're just not equipped for that. Horrible. All right. The Super Bowl. Where are you at on the Super Bowl? I'm all twisted up on the inside. I can't wait to see the game. I think we do have two great teams going head to head. And what an opportunity for Brock Purdy. Mr. Irrelevant, getting a chance to silence all critics by taking out Patrick Mahomes in a Super Bowl. Man, that's awesome. It doesn't get any better than that. So we'll go to San Francisco coming up at 4:20, talk with Evan Giddings from 95.7 The Game and get his take on how he sees the matchup going down. Also, his thoughts on Brock Purdy and this cottage industry that's popped up with people taking a run at him. Interesting. Man, Kyle Shanahan, he's got a chance to get over the hump. And if not, the questions will continue to stay there about whether or not he can win the big one. But the Shanahan tree is alive and very well right now in the NFL. It's impressive. All right, I want to talk a little basketball for a moment. I want to talk about Scoot Henderson. I am pumped with what I've seen from Scoot over the last couple of weeks. The confidence, the emergence that we've seen with him in his role coming off the bench, the solid play that we've seen over the last couple of weeks, and just the way that the game is starting to slow down a bit. Showcasing his athleticism, shooting the ball better, and just playing dynamite for the Trailblazers. I mean, what a sight for sore eyes after the slow start. Then the bone bruise. Then he was out of the mix. Then he got to start. Then he was back on the bench. And then he got to start. Now he's back on the bench. And I think that's where he's going to stay the remainder of the year. But this past couple of weeks, going back to the road trip and that performance we saw in Oklahoma City, the 22 points in the second half against Philadelphia, or even more impressive, how about the 15 points that he had in the first half against Dame and the Bucks when he was electric? And he's throwing it down with his head above the rim. And then he had a game-high 30 points on Friday in Denver against the Nuggets. I freaking love it, man. See, there's a lot of things to love about the youngster. And he is young. I think he just had a birthday yesterday or the day before. So, Scoot Henderson, what's going to make him great, aside from the God-given gifts, and we see it, man. I mean, he is chiseled from stone. He's got a man's body at a young man's age, but he looks grown, strong, chiseled. I mean, he's a ripped dude. He looks good. He looks real good. His shoulders, I look at him, I just marvel like, oh, that would be nice. So he's an Adonis out there on the court, and he's got great athleticism, but the things I'm hearing about him from the inside is the work ethic is legit. So this is a guy that will spend the time at the practice facility by himself, getting up shots and working on his game the way that good players do. They always are putting in time in their game. Work, work, work. Never satisfied. Always trying to find different ways to improve. So on top of the individual desire and the work ethic, he grinds in practice. He's got a good ear. He's very willing to listen to what the coaches have to say. To listen. To really, truly listen and pay attention to what's going on. And I think that's critical. He also listens to his teammates and pays attention to the vets. And he's got the right demeanor, his attitude. Even through the struggles early in the year, he didn't get down. He wasn't frustrated. He's oozing positivity from his pores. So he's the type of guy you want to be around. And I like that. Guys like him. He's got the personality and that demeanor where at some point he will be able to take over and have it be his team and he can be the voice because he's got that dynamic personality. But he's also smart enough to know right now that his game doesn't match that, so he's going to play it cool and take on whatever role the coaches ask him to do. And you know as a coaching staff, when you have a player that listens and is willing to do whatever is asked of him and take on whatever role is necessary and embrace it, and you continue to work that hard and make improvements, they're going to find ways to get you involved. But it's Scoot's attitude, work ethic, and demeanor that's going to take him places. And then when you add in the natural physical gifts, the sky's the limit for Scoot Henderson. Last night was the first time that he had not shot 50%. The previous 5 games, he had shot better than 50%. He's been a real catalyst for the better ball movement and player movement that we've seen over the last couple of weeks. I think the Blazers had 29 assists last night. They went cold into the third, into the fourth. But Scoot Henderson, even on a night when he didn't shoot the ball well for the first time in over a week, he was still doing the things that the coaches wanted him to do, which I think is terrific. Grinding, focusing on defense, paying attention to details, and being smarter with his decision-making. And that's going to come from a couple of different things. One, just having more time on the floor. The game's slowing down for him. And I think what's helping the Blazers right now with this better play of late, I mean, even though they lost both games in Denver, there's a lot of good things coming out of those 2 games. But we're seeing continuity to a degree with the lineup, where we know Scoot's coming off the bench, and in the starting lineup, they're going to go with Jabari, Grant, and Ayton, and then you'll have Brogdon and Ant in the backcourt. And then when Shaden's healthy, I would imagine he'll probably get back in the mix as a starter next to Ant. And then off the bench, Scoot Henderson. So at least he knows his role and what's going to be required of him for the rest of the year so he can settle in and really focus in on that. But I want to play this for you. I love this little snippet of audio because this is the type of work ethic that Scoot has that we're seeing from other young players in the NBA, the guys who are willing to put in the detailed work to take their game to the next level. That's where it's all at. You've got to be willing to put in the time, not just in the games, but practice and then individual work. Because the way I'm looking at Scoot right now is look at the flashes of brilliance right now. But more importantly, What's it going to look like a couple of months down the road when we're at the end of the season? How much better will he be? And then more importantly, what's it going to look like when Scoot has a full off season to put in all the work, all the time, and have a better understanding of what it takes to be a pro because he's got a season under his belt when we kick off next year? The most important thing, if you want to boil it down to one thing, Scoot Henderson becoming great is the best way for this franchise to get on track and get back to where we want them to be. Scoot Henderson becoming great is critical. And he's got all the potential in the world. It's there. And I think it's going to happen. Now, we've seen it with Jabari Walker as a second-round pick. He worked his ass off during the offseason, continued to do all the little things that Scoot's doing now, listen to the coaches, work hard in practice, do what is asked of you. And now he worked himself into a starting position, which is pretty impressive for a second-round pick who barely played last year. And he's being productive, all because he works his butt off. But this is J.J. Redick, who sat down to have a conversation with Paolo Banchero. And Banchero is one of those great players, young players in the NBA. Had a great rookie season, but he's taken his game to another level. Why? Because he put in the work and the detail and the time. And that's what these great young players, if you want the formula for success, it's all about the work that you do and making sure that the work that you do is quality. And you do that by listening to the people around you, the other greats. So take a listen to Redick and Banchero talking about the work that Paolo put in on his shot and on his offense by working and getting into drills with one of the best offensive players I've ever seen in Kevin Durant.
Your improvement in shooting this year, and obviously you had a full summer with USA Basketball. But just what types of things were you working on over the off season? Did you change anything? Did you figure out what's a good shot for you? What's a bad shot for you from that range? Like where is this improvement coming from?
Yeah, I think I put in a ton of reps. I did change, I think, a little bit with my base and how I get into my shot. And then I think my arc, just being as consistent as I could with my arc, I think that was something that I kind of would fluctuate throughout the season. And so just drilling, getting arc on my shot, whether it was with Mike. I think I spent some time with Kevin. That helped me as well, just with my shot, seeing how he details, just every single rep looks the same. I think that really kind of...
Kevin, as in Kevin Durant.
Kevin Durant, yeah. I think that just woke me up and showed me it showed me a different level of working out, Just,
really?
Yeah, you got to lock in. Not saying, obviously I work out hard.
No, yeah.
Yeah, but Kevin is
is it the attention to detail?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's that's a whole different level that you got to be able to reach. And that showed me, being with him this summer. I was like, okay, I got a long way to go.
Did you do his one-footed spin into a shot?
Yeah. It's tough.
Bro, the first time I started doing that, it was probably it was late in my career. It took me a week before I could consistently do it at the 3-point line. I could do it at the elbow fine, no issue.
Or then he'll do it where he starts on one foot, spins, taps the second foot, is right up into a shot. And you'll do it, or I'll do it. And and it's I'll get into my shot, but it's I'm just so focused on the feet and making sure everything's all one. So it kind of looks kind of put together, piece by piece. And then Kev gets out there and just fluid every time. Same thing every time.
I feel like almost every nationally televised game, they show the intro and they do the, and for the Phoenix Suns, Kevin Durant, they make up a stat, 31 points, 8 rebounds, 7 assists, 57% from 3 over his last 7. He's only the 4th player in the last 40 years to do it. Whatever they're talking, and they show Kevin, he's always doing that.
Yeah.
I swear it's every broadcast. I'm like, they got Kevin again. He does that at 60 minutes on the clock. He's not even before the game when they're doing the intro. No, it's wild because especially the half one is easy, but when you do the full one the first few times, you're I feel so stupid, and he just makes it look effortless. And obviously Dirk did it too. That's Dirk OG, but those guys, it's so impressive.
Yeah, and he'll shoot literally 85% in the workout.
Really,
and it literally working out with him, it makes you lock in even more. Them workouts with KD were some of the best shooting days I've ever had. Because I felt I can't let this dude leave me in the dust.
Is it just you two? Or is anyone else there?
Yeah, it was just us. But it really took you kind of to another level. Damn, this is where I got to be. he don't miss.
So it wasn't necessarily that it was like competitive, but it was just more like I can't look like an asshole.
Yeah,
Kevin.
no.
I can't miss 7 in a row.
No, like we're doing drills where he got to go 3 in a row. I got to go 3 in a row. We can't move till we both get 3 in a row. Like you can't. I'm not.
That's
gonna
pressure on both of you.
Exactly. I'm not going to be the guy that sits here and tries again 4 times. Like I just couldn't let myself be that.
How did this come about? You reached out to him. Mike did.
Yeah, Mike through Mike.
Yeah. So Mike also helped you with your shooting.
Oh yeah, for sure.
What is he like? I'm curious because I played against Mike obviously, but very like specific way of shooting. And Bob Tate, R.I.P., passed away recently. Was helped Mike shooting coach for him for a while. Bob also helped Blake and I believe Jay Kidd as well. What are the things Mike stresses to you when you guys work on your shooting?
I think being down being down and ready, like before I catch, not being straight up. And then his thing is always like shoot it, like shoot. Like that's what he tell me to do. Like sometimes you leave it short or you're like, if anything, all else fails, like you got to get it there. You got to shoot it. You got to have a chance, like give it a chance. And so that was kind of how he started. Cause when I was working on my arc, like working on your arc's always tricky. I feel like.
Did you change your release point at all though?
I wouldn't say I made an effort to change it. I think maybe
by changing the arc,
it did.
Altered it a little bit. Yeah.
But I think that was the biggest thing was just being so comfortable with it that I'm not thinking about, I'm not trying to calculate anything. I'm just letting it fly and getting it to the point where I can just catch and fire. And I think we put in so much work that, during the season, it was kind of the same thing. Like I've been able to just, once I see a shot that I like, I take it. And if it goes in, it goes in. If it doesn't, I'm going to shoot the next one. And
yeah.
That was something he helped me with too.
All right. There's Paolo Banchero with J.J. Redick. But I love the detailed work that these youngsters put in, especially working with a great like Kevin Durant. But that's what Scoot Henderson's going to do. He will work with the best. He will get the detailed expertise and continue to go to work. That will help him with the shooting numbers and then being around other greats and talking about the game and developing a better understanding and getting that confidence as you continue to press forward. We've seen it with Banchero. Jabari Walker's made great strides. I'm just loving what I'm seeing from Scoot Henderson right now. Like, if you're a Blazer fan, I would imagine you feel like I do. It's like it's pumping me up. Who cares about the wins and losses right now? The development of the young players is the most important thing that we could possibly hope for right now. And when you see those guys start to take that next step, it's like, oh, yeah, give me some more of that. And he's so young. So young. He's got so much more time to grow. Take a listen to Chauncey Billups talk about Scoot after a game last night where he had 14 points, 9 assists. Didn't shoot the ball well. I think he was like 3 of 16, but Billups was totally down.
Scoot, a little bit of a tough night shooting, but he finished with 9 assists. What do you like about, or did you like about his decision making?
I loved everything about Scoot's game tonight. Obviously he struggled from the field, but he's so much more than that. You look at him get 9 assists, 8 rebounds, toughness that he plays with, the fire that he plays with, the pace that he plays with. I thought it opened up the game for us tonight. So, he's going to be the type of player that it doesn't even matter what his field goal, what it looks like. He could have been 8 for 16 or 3 for 16. His floor game, his defensive, he can do so much, So I love Scoot's game tonight.
There you go. That's Chauncey talking about Scoot. Man, he's making a move. By the way, DeAndre Ayton's balling his backside off right now. 27 points, 9 boards. He's had like 7 straight games of big production. Just having him on the floor healthy, it makes a big difference. But he was terrific last night. All right, when we come back, I need your help, Rip City, and I'll explain why and how you can assist. That's coming up next on the Rip City Drive.
Burkhart was calling you about courtside. He just I think he had other stuff going on. He wanted to pivot. I told him it's no big deal, but he talked to you. I'm the middleman on the. Yeah, no problem. A little under 3. Yeah, I was gonna be pretty sore at 6:00 hour, so this is doing me a favor.
All right, Shacker pulling out another one of those very odd remakes of an 80s classic. We'll talk with Evan Giddings, 95.7 The Game in San Francisco at 4:20. Dave Softy Mahler from KJR will jump on the show at 5:20. All right, Friday, Dwight and I are going to be out at Jackson's Food Mart off Bangy Road, which is right there at I-5 and 217. You can see the Shell station, the Jacksons from the freeway. You can't miss it. And we're going to broadcast live the Rip City Drive 3 to 6 inside of their frosty 37-degree cooler. You know, we're chilling for a cause. All proceeds will benefit ALS Northwest. There are a lot of families in our community that are suffering from ALS. There's a lot of cost and care that's required to help those who are suffering from ALS. My grandfather dealt with it for 20 years. That's how he passed away. It was hideous. It's a hideous disease. And there are friends and people we know in the community that need our help. And ALS Northwest has got the resources to be able to assist those people, those families here in our community. So it's a very good cause. And I want you to come out and join us and say hi at Jackson's. You can buy some coldies and some snacks for the big game on Sunday. But if you stop by, you can enter to win Trailblazer tickets and say hi to us in the cooler. I would greatly appreciate that. But most importantly, I want you to go to our auction page and bid on items to raise money for ALS Northwest. So if you go to the website, and I'm going to go there right now, ripcityradio.com, and you scroll down on the homepage, you'll see an icon for Chillin' for a Cause. Or you can go to the contests and promotions, and you'll find the icon for Chillin' for a Cause right there. And then once you click on it, it will take you to the Chillin' for a Cause homepage. And from there, there's a bolded out link that says, check out our auction items. And once you click on that, it takes you to the auction page where you can bid on items. And all proceeds from the auction will go to benefit ALS Northwest. We have, right now, autographed Trailblazer basketballs from the entire team, including Scoot Henderson. We have multiple balls. You can bid, and you can get one ball right now, current bid of $75, autographed by the entire team. We also have up for bids the Coors Light Silver Seats, which is this area at Moda where you're up in the 200 level, and you're sitting at this throne, a Coors Light throne, where you've got a table. They've got the cold rail technology where you can keep your beverage cold throughout the entire game. And they got phone chargers. And you're sitting in these captain chairs, which are very cushy, much better than the regular stadium seats. This would be a good thing to bid on and then split up the cost. You get 4 total tickets and seats in the Coors Light Silver Seats, and you even get some sweet swag, some Blazer and Coors Light swag that's delivered by the Blazer Dancers. So you can bid on the Coors Light Silver Seats for a game this year. We also have autographed Trailblazer pennants by the entire team, starting at $25. You can bid to host the Rip City Drive. That means you get 3 hours of the Rip City Drive. You can talk about whatever you want. Sports, fine. You want to talk about Taylor Swift for 3 hours? That's fine. You want to come in and talk about your business and what you're doing here in our community for 3 hours? That's fine. You can bid right now to host the Rip City Drive. You can also bid to play golf with Dwight and I out at Forest Hills Golf Club. One of my favorite items is to be a Trailblazer reporter for a day. You get a press pass. You'll join me at a Blazer game, and we'll sit at Media Row, and you'll see how things operate, and then we'll take part in the post-game press conference. I think that would be good if you're a parent out there and has a son or a daughter who has interest in being in the sports media. This might be a cool gift where you can help people out and at the same time hook your child up with something dope. You can also bid on an autographed, authentic jersey from Scoot Henderson. And then we got the VIP night for 4 at RVN Style Resorts Amphitheater up in Clark County. 4 tickets, sitting in the suite area with your own server, and you get to pick the concert. So please, 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 please go to our auction page. Go to ripcityradio.com. You can go to our promotions and contests page and click on the icon for Chillin' for a Cause. It's also at the bottom of our homepage. Click on the Chillin' for a Cause icon. And when you go to that homepage, you'll see the link for the auction. items. And it's live right now. You can bid on items. So jump on this. Take advantage of an opportunity to get something cool. And at the same time, you help out people and families in our community right now who are in need. And then, of course, come by and check us out on Friday. We'll be out there at the Jacksons. It's right there at I-5 and 217 off Bangy Road. And we're going to be there for 3 hours in the cooler. 37 degrees. I'm going to ask Dave Softy Mahler at 520 what it's like being in the cooler. He's done it several times. From my understanding, it's much colder than you think it's going to be, especially when you're just sitting there talking sports and you're not moving around. It's probably going to be even worse than I think. But we'll be there. So stop by and say hi. You can enter to win Trailblazer tickets, but most importantly, go to the auction page and bid on items right now. And you can help out and benefit those families who are suffering from ALS here in our community. And all proceeds will benefit ALS Northwest. And, of course, they've got the resources and the ability to help these families, which is critical. I just couldn't believe my grandpa, who he had the disease before I think I was born. So by the time I was old enough to know him, he wasn't walking. He couldn't talk. He could moan and make noises. But he had a typewriter sitting next to him in his chair where he would type messages. And what really sucked for him is to have a perfectly functioning mind, but being unable to communicate verbally, or he couldn't move, but his mind was perfect. And so I remember those days vividly. I remember him typing messages on the typewriter telling me and my brother to get out of the living room because he was getting ready to watch a movie that he deemed to be inappropriate for us to see with our own eyes. Probably something involving Richard Pryor back in the day, early 80s, when he was big time. But it's a hideous disease, and we got a chance to help make a difference. So join us out there on Friday. Jackson's Food Mart off Bangy Road, right there at I-5 and 217. But most importantly, go to our auction page and bid on items right now. I appreciate your help, and that's the way we roll here in Rip City. People step up and make a difference, and that's what it's all about. All right, we'll keep things rolling. We're going to head to San Francisco at 4:20 and talk with Evan Giddings. We'll get his take on the matchup and what's going to be the key for the 49ers, and also this weird fascination with Brock Purdy as the 49er quarterback. And when we come back, I'll focus in on the Super Bowl. I want to talk about the 49ers and some of the keys that they have that can help get them over the top in this game Sunday against the Chiefs. And then Softy at 5:20. You got the Rip City Drive. All right, 4 o'clock. The Trailblazers got out to a hot start last night in Denver, but the Nuggets went on a 23-2 run late third into the fourth and secured a 112-103 victory. Ayton put up a season-best 27 points and pulled down 9 rebounds. Portland will get 3 days off. Next up, the Detroit Pistons. Thursday night at Moda Center. Tip-off is set for 7 o'clock. A friendly reminder, NBA trade deadline is coming up Thursday at noon. Super Bowl 58, Sunday at Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas. Chiefs and Niners. Kickoff is set for 3:30 on CBS. Latest check of the line has San Francisco favored by 2. According to reports, the Seahawks are set to hire Jay Harbaugh to be their special teams coordinator, Ryan Grubb being considered as offensive coordinator. Tomorrow, Trailblazer Ticket Tuesday here on the Rip City Drive. We have 2 pairs of tickets to give away at 4 and 5. And for all of your ticket needs, go to trailblazers.com. Dave Softy Mahler joins the show at 5:20. All right, coming up at 4:20, Evan Giddings, who is with 95.7 The Game in San Francisco, will join the show and talk Super Bowl. We'll get his take on the matchup and what he thinks the key is going to be for the 49ers. And I want to know what the plan is for Travis Kelce. What do they plan to do with Kelce coming off a game in the AFC title? 11 targets, 11 receptions, and he has looked terrific in the postseason. After a lackluster regular season, Kelce, like most greats do, stepping up when his team needs him most. But it's just one of those situations where I look at the game, I'm like, dude, I'm not worried about the young receivers, but I'm worried about freaking Travis Kelce, right? After Mahomes, you like, okay, who's going to hurt us? What's Travis Kelce? So Evan Giddings will join us to talk Bull at 4:20, and then we're going to talk with Dave Softy Mahler, who will join the show at 5:20. If you want to reach out, you'll find me on X at Chad in Rip City, and the telephone number here, 503-248-0620. And please join us out at Jackson's Food Mart off Bangy Road at the corner of I-5 and 217, 3 to 6 Friday as we broadcast live from the cooler at 37 degrees, benefiting ALS Northwest. And you go to our website, click on the icon for Chillin' for a Cause, and you'll find the link for our auction page where you can bid on items to help benefit ALS Northwest. All proceeds from the auction will benefit ALS Northwest. All right, let's talk about this game coming up on Sunday through the eyes of the 49ers, who, you know, we knew going into the year were one of the best teams in football. We knew on paper they had arguably the best roster in football. And the big question for me, of course, was their quarterback. And I got a text message from Miranda who reached out, and she said, "Good afternoon, Mr. Doing. Now that the conclusion of the NFL season's less than a week away, thought it was time to check in. You've been a rather frequent contributor about these topics in the past. Are you sticking with your overall assessment of Purdy as a quarterback? Number 2, your specific evaluation of Purdy's ability to win a Super Bowl. In the past, when given an opportunity to talk about Purdy, you pretty much evacuated your bowels. Is this still the case? Warmest regards, Miranda." Well, first off, I appreciate the message, Miranda. Thank you. Well, the way I look at Brock Purdy is very simple. This year, he's been nothing short of sensational. I'm sure that he's exceeded all expectations that the 49ers had for him as the last player taken in the draft. He put up a season that garnered MVP consideration based on his play and the success of his team. And I would argue with him making somewhere between $800,000 to $900,000 that he's got to be the best bargain in the NFL right now and maybe the best bargain in history. At that price and at that production, what more can you ask for? And think about what they're going to be able to do with their roster because they're not paying a hefty chunk to their quarterback right now. And the best part is he's under contract at that rate for quite some time. They don't have to rush to give him a big contract right now. You know, they can wait and take a look at next year and see if he's able to duplicate this type of success before they lock in on some type of deal. My guess would be if you ask the Philadelphia Eagles today if they regret giving Jalen Hurts all that big money after last year, they might regret it a bit. They could have waited, but there's always that pressure. Oh, you got to take care of the quarterback. But he regressed this year, and that's a major concern after locking him up on a massive deal. You know, the Broncos did the same thing too. They made the deal, and of course it was in place that they were going to renew the deal and give Russell Wilson big-time money, but they didn't have to. They could have waited. And after that first year with Hackett, maybe they could have made a more prudent approach to what his new contract was going to be. So the 49ers are in no rush, no hurry. They can sit back and wait. So production-wise, best bargain in the NFL. I think he's probably exceeded all expectations. My problem with Brock Purdy as a quarterback, I think right now he's probably somewhere, if you take all the starting quarterbacks in the NFL, he's probably in the middle of the pack. 16, 17, 18, somewhere in that area. And it's not a knock on Purdy, but that's where he's at. Physically, he's not the most gifted guy on the planet, doesn't have the strongest arm. He's shorter than your prototypical quarterback. He does have more athleticism than what his frame would suggest. We saw that against Green Bay and Detroit with his ability to scramble and make some plays with his legs. He's got a very core crisis on the field. So there's makeup. But he's very good. And he's smart because he just does what Kyle Shanahan wants him to do. Here's the play. Here's how I want it executed. Go out there and do the job. The problem with a guy like Purdy is that he requires everything around him to be functioning at a high level or he's going to struggle. We've seen that without Deebo Samuel on the field. We saw that against Green Bay when the defense was struggling and the ball was wet. And we saw it against Detroit when the first really 2.5 quarters of that game, the defense was non-existent and the offense was sputtering. But to his credit, he hung in there and made plays down the stretch for them to get the win. Patrick Mahomes, on the other hand, when you're talking about the elite quarterbacks, he doesn't need things to be perfect. He has gone through a year where they've had to break in a bunch of young receivers because when you pay the quarterback like the Chiefs did Mahomes and you pay your defensive tackle big money, there's not a lot of money to go elsewhere, meaning you lose a guy like Tyreek Hill, and you got to start to break in the young receivers. And it's been a rough year offensively for the Chiefs. But look at what they've been able to do. They had a great defense throughout the year. Offensively, they were subpar for the standards that Reed and Mahomes have, but they hung in there, and they continued to play, and they found a comfort level for what they had to offer this year. We're going to run the football a little bit more. We'll use Pacheco. Mahomes is just not going to make the big mistake, and then we'll make enough plays and rely on our defense to keep it close. And because we get the best quarterback, we can win it in the end. That's the beauty of having Mahomes. You don't need a perfect roster. You don't need the best players on the field. He's going to find a way to navigate and get stuff done, even when things around him aren't at their best. That's the difference. So that's how I shape up the quarterbacks. Now, for this game coming up on Sunday, I think for the 49ers, a couple of things jump out. Number one, what's the plan for Travis Kelce? What is the plan? Are you just going to play zone and let him run free out the line of scrimmage and get open time after time after time and make catch after catch after catch and start to impact the game in a massive way? I do not understand. It blows my mind. You go into a game, it's like, okay, this guy's going to kill us. We have to come up with a plan to stop him. The Ravens had no plan. And they got smart coaches. What's up with that? Where was Mike McDonald when it came to coming up with an idea on how to slow down Travis Kelce? They didn't have one. So if I'm the 49ers, I go into it and say something very simply. Just like in an NBA game, anyone but Steph Curry. I don't care if it's Klay Thompson. I don't care if it's Draymond Green. We're not going to allow this guy to kill us. If Draymond Green's going to hit threes or somebody else step up and knock him down, we're not going to let this guy be the one that causes our demise. And that's the way I would approach it with Kelce, meaning I'd have two guys on him at all times. I'd get Fred Warner up on him playing physical. I would get a body up on him. I'd have a safety over the top. I would just be all over him. what makes Kelsey so tough is that he has an ability to break off his route mid-play and change what he's doing based on the defense in front of him, and he and Mahomes are somehow on the same page at all times. But come up with a plan for Travis Kelsey and just make it a point. Look, if it's going to be Rice or Valdez Scantling or one of these other guys that beats us, then so be it. But it's not going to be Kelsey. It's not going to be Mahomes to Kelsey that determines the outcome of the game. So that's my big concern. Come up with a plan. What's your plan for Travis Kelsey? Or is it going to be wide-ass open all day long? You watch a Chiefs game, you're like, wait a second, how can that guy be open all the time? You know who's going to get the ball. You know who Mahomes is looking to. Who does he trust? It's mind-blowing how he's always open. So, number one, come up with a plan for Travis Kelsey and make life tough on him. Take him away. Make somebody else beat you. I would dare those young receivers to make enough plays to beat you. That's how I would approach it. After that, the one thing that you can do against Kansas City is run the football. We saw it with Buffalo, who had success running the ball. And for some reason, the Ravens, who have this identity as being a running football team, decided, yeah, we don't need to run the ball. We'll just drop back Lamar Jackson all game long. Idiots. Run the ball. So my advice to Kyle Shanahan would be very simple. Come up with a game plan for Christian McCaffrey, get him the football, and make him your feature on offense. Get him involved in the passing game, get him involved in the run game. Make sure that he gets so many touches that people's heads are spinning, all right? He is the ultimate weapon on that offense because he can do everything. And I go back to what I've mentioned before in the conversations I've had with David Shaw when he was the coach at Stanford. They would have every week before a game. They called it the McCaffrey Project. And they would sit down as a group of coaches and they would look at the game and the game plan and the opponent and say, okay, how many different ways can we get McCaffrey the football? The McCaffrey Project. And they would come up and devise these different ways to get him involved in the run game, the pass game, and special teams, you name it. Because they knew their best chance to win was with McCaffrey handling the football on a regular basis because he was freaking awesome. So if you're Kyle Shanahan, make sure he touches the ball. I know it drove 49er fans crazy in the Green Bay game because they're like, wait a second, where did McCaffrey go? Why are they getting away from the run? So feature McCaffrey and get him involved. After that, I think for Kyle, he's a guy that believes his schemes, his plays are better than everybody else's, and they probably are. But once he comes up with a game plan, he has a difficult time getting away from that game plan, getting off script. But Kyle, in this game against the Chiefs with their defense, what you have drawn up may not work right away, so don't be afraid to get off script and mix it up if need be, because they can't afford to get off to a slow start. And then early in the game, I would get some easy throws for your quarterback, Brock Purdy, to settle him down, give him some confidence, get him into a flow of the game so that he doesn't have one of those stretches where he misses 4 or 5 or has 6 straight incompletions. Get him some easy throws early. All right, we'll come back. We're going to head to San Francisco. We'll talk with Evan Giddings, 95.7 the game, and we'll get his take on this matchup. What's the plan for Travis Kelsey?
All right, so Evan here. Actually got a number of him. So if he hasn't changed his number, I got it.
All right, our next guest you can follow on X at eGittings10. He is a man that does a little bit of everything for 95.7 The Game in San Francisco. He's also a former co-worker and a guy I have great respect for. Evan Giddings is on the show. Evan, what's up, my man? Thanks for coming on.
Anytime, Chad. I woke up to a text from you this morning, so I got a little early last night. I was like, yeah, of course, anytime. Chopping it with my guy, you're a mentor of mine. He gave me a start in Portland, and I'm happy to be talking to you now, representing the Bay Area, who's got a team representing us here in the Super Bowl.
No, it's pretty awesome. I want to ask you before we get to the Super Bowl, you had a great opportunity to go on Dan Patrick and talk about the A's, and you were an invited guest. I watched it, I heard it, and I was giddy with excitement just knowing that you had that opportunity. But I want to know, when you went on, how nervous were you before you started talking?
I was pretty damn nervous. And first of all, thank you for watching, and it's certainly one of the highlights in my career so far, and being on a show that is as well circulated and well respected as Dan Patrick's was certainly a thrill. But I got a call from my boss that morning. He was like, hey, they hit us up. They want to talk about the Oakland A's and, their inevitable move. It appears in Las Vegas. Would you be cool representing the station? I said, well, yeah, of course. Yeah, no problem. And, of course, I was talking out of the side of my mouth. I hadn't even had a cup of coffee yet at like 7:30 in the morning. He was wearing his weird Hawaiian T-shirt, and I just was like, I have no clue what to do. But I was comfortable with the subject matter, and that's kind of what I just told myself right before the interview. It's like, about the A's, about all the things going on. You got an idea of what they're going to talk to you about, and I was fortunate enough to stick the landing, so to speak. So I appreciate you tuning in, and that was that was pretty nerve-wracking.
Dude, it's great, man. I just love watching you thrive, so it's very cool to see. I want to start with this, with
Thanks,
the 49ers. What do you make of this new cottage industry in the media where people like to take a run or bash on Brock Purdy? Like, what is the fascination surrounding Brock, and what's your takeaway from all of this?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. It's interesting because I'm probably not the highest on Brock Purdy compared to some of the stuff you see out there in social media, but I'm also certainly not one of the guys that is saying that, like, Cam Newton, he's the 10th best player on the roster. It was funny, like last week we did an exercise where we just went down and drafted players from the 49ers, and I think Brock Purdy was somewhere between 3rd and 5th, or, it's like, he probably isn't the most talented player on the team, but he's the perfect quarterback right now for Kyle Shanahan and his system, and he allows, because of his contract, to have a surrounding cast that is incredible. But that doesn't take away from what he's done. He's been the most efficient passer in football this year. He's going up now against what I think everyone believes to be the best quarterback in the league in Patrick Mahomes. And just because statistically he's been better than Patrick doesn't make him better, but also just because Patrick is better doesn't make Brock Purdy all of a sudden the 10th or 15th best quarterback in the league. It's really hard to figure out where people come down on Brock Purdy, and I would say for a guy who's 24 years old to be in the Super Bowl, he has a chance to be, I think, the 3rd youngest winning Super Bowl quarterback ever. That's pretty indicative of the place that he's in, whether you think he's got a silver spoon, whether you think that he's an unbelievable, Joe Montana-esque type quarterback. You can't take away from what he's accomplished so far in his career, which I believe, if he wins the Super Bowl, will be 23 victories through his first 1.5 seasons. And that is something that, as a person from the Bay Area who understands the history in this town, he's going to be in conversations with legends. And that's something that's awesome to witness, and I wish him nothing but the best.
Well, Evan, you follow this team. You watch them. You've been to practice. Like, for those who don't know, like, what do you think is Purdy's best trait as a quarterback? What makes him, or what gives him the ability to be so good at what he does for Shanahan?
Well, knowing you're a fan of too, Chad, and getting to know you a little bit, I know that you love quarterbacks, and John Elway being, of course, at the top, but quarterbacks that are even keel, that are balanced, and even sometimes a little bit boring. Like, I don't want my quarterback to be front and center of every single press conference, of every single practice. And Brock Purdy, I think that's naturally who he is, but he also doesn't draw the limelight to him, whether it's because of the physical capabilities or just how he is at the podium. I love the fact that Brock Purdy takes pride in deflection. And that's something that I think all the great quarterbacks have though there are some with more fire and sort of presence on the field, I don't think we saw that from those great quarterbacks until later in their careers. And everyone's going to say, oh, Tom Brady's the guy that's mother bleeping this dude. And, Patrick Mahomes is screaming at guys on the field. Yes, but when they were rookies, when they were second-year players, which Brock Purdy currently is, they were not in that position. And so I think Brock Purdy has followed a great path. We'll see if he has the greatness in him on the field, and we'll see that on Sunday. But I think he's followed a great path of trying to essentially be a guy, not the guy just yet, which, of course, his play can put him in the echelon in.
We're talking with Evan Giddings from 95.7 The Game. I agree. My favorite thing about Purdy is that demeanor where he's very calm, and I think that can be very helpful for a team that could be facing crisis. How much did you enjoy that audio that we heard between he and George Kittle, where Kittle was encouraging him, hey, it's okay to speak up and encourage the guys? Like he was kind of giving him some pointers on how to deal with the guys. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, and I think that's probably the next place that Purdy's going to be able to progress and get better in his career. It's a place where you've actually seen, I think, Patrick Mahomes probably grow the most. Now, he had the football part down pretty damn quickly, but this year there's been so many opportunities for someone like Mahomes to throw receivers under the bus and say, this guy's the reason why we lost. This dude stinks. And all he does is step to the podium and say, hey, we're 100% behind Marquez Valdes-Scantling or Watson or whoever. So Brock Purdy, I think, he's not in a place where he has to, of course, take blame or the onus upon himself from a lot of great all-pro talent players. But Kittle's right. Like, anytime that there's a position in which the team is maybe feeling a little bit even or uneven-keeled or uneasy, that's a place where you can step in with that presence that we're talking about as someone that is a flat line no matter what the situation is. And I think that's why we saw probably at halftime the 49ers team not panic being down 17 points against the Lions. And then in the divisional round, I think it's why we saw Brock Purdy not panic in the rain, having one of his worst statistical performances through three quarters, and then come through in the fourth, because the game is still within reach. It's never over. And the 49ers, I think, kind of have that mindset that you need of a champion, which is this game is ours to win no matter what point, no matter how large the deficit is. And I think that's the switch that we've seen flip from a regular season team that played mostly from ahead and that kind of was labeled almost as front runners by a lot of people to now the quote-unquote comeback kids. And I think we're going to see that all culminate in the Super Bowl.
I'll say this about Purdy. He's probably making like between $800,000 and $900,000 a year right now based on that contract. He has got to be one of the greatest bargains on that production in the history of the league. It's incredible.
Dude, Chad, he's got a roommate. He's got multiple roommates.
You have to in the Bay Area.
Quarterback in the NFL.
You can't live on $800,000 in the Bay Area.
You certainly cannot. Yeah, he's just one of us, man. And I think that's another reason why people love him.
That's amazing. We're talking with Evan Giddings, 95.7 The Game in San Francisco. All right, the thing that drives me crazy about the Chiefs, every time you watch them, Patrick Mahomes always has a wide-open Travis Kelce to throw the football to. So my question to you is, what's going to be the game plan to go in and say, anyone but him, Travis Kelce? What are they going to do? How would you play it?
I think you got to be okay with a Hall of Famer doing what he does. The question I have is, how long can they keep him off the field? It's not as if Patrick Mahomes is not going to be able to find Travis Kelce. And, if there was a team that could shut down Kelce this season, I think it probably would have been Baltimore. And even then, he had a couple of scores. So I think that this is a Niners team, which unfortunate, it's a little weak in the secondary. One area they could be able to present a problem for Kelce is in their linebacking core. Fred Warner is a very good cover linebacker, and of course he's one of the best getting downhill against the run as well. So that sort of versatility is going to help. But to me, the way to keep Travis Kelce from not producing is to just keep him off the field, and that's where I think the Niners can establish a presence in this game. It's against the run. And that's where I was disappointed in the Ravens. I didn't think they ran the ball nearly enough against a KC rush D that gave up 185 yards to James Cook and Josh Allen the week before. I think this is a Niners team that will use their running back room, specifically number 23, Christian McCaffrey, as much and as early as possible, because if they can establish a tone on the ground, I think that helps them with, of course, the possession, but more importantly, keeping that dynamic duo where they belong on the sidelines.
Oh, I agree, Evan. I mean, Christian McCaffrey is a super stud. I can't imagine a 49er victory without Christian McCaffrey being a key part of that, right? Where they're giving him the ball, he's running the football, he's between the tackles, he's involved in the pass game. Like, I know 49er fans were frustrated because he was a forgotten man at times in the Green Bay game, but, like, you got to lean on him, right? Unlike the Ravens, you've got to commit to getting McCaffrey involved. Even if it doesn't work the way you want it to early, stick with him because you know he's going to break one eventually.
Yeah, no doubt. And I think Kyle Shanahan has quietly done that. I know Green Bay, they wanted more of him, but the touches is where you got to look at for McCaffrey. It's not just the amount of rushes. Because I think he had 24 touches in the Green Bay game, had 25-plus in the conference championship against Detroit, and I would expect it to be in the same range, if not more. You know, you look at the total yardage between receiving as well as rushing, he's averaged 140 yards so far through the first 2 games in the postseason. And I think that workload can only ramp up because this guy has demonstrated himself to be an absolute Iron Man since he stepped foot in Santa Clara. He's averaged pretty much 400 touches between regular and postseason each of the last 2 years, and that's only been ramped up since he's gotten to San Francisco coming over from Carolina. So this is a game where, look, Patrick Mahomes is the best player on the field. If I'm the 49ers, though, yes, they've been effective, and Brock Purdy's moved the ball through the air at a better rate than his predecessor throughout the regular season and even in the postseason. This is a game where the Niners, I believe, have to show the world who the second best player on the field is. And in my opinion, that's Christian McCaffrey. Give him the ball as much as you need, and I think the results will play them out for themselves.
I agree. You know what's weird about this game? Because I look at it on paper in a very simple form. I'm like, okay, best quarterback? Well, that's Patrick Mahomes. Best defense? That's the Chiefs. And they've got Andy Reid. Like, it's a no-brainer. I can't understand why the 49ers are favored. Why do you think they're favored in this game? That's a little weird to me.
Well, number one, I think it's to tempt and tilt the betting lines towards where the money is going currently. I think it's like all the sharps are on KC, and I saw a report today from our partners at BetMGM that basically if the Chiefs win this game, they're actually going to take a loss, which is something Vegas generally does not do. So that's how much money is on Kansas City. But to me, I think the line was set because of the totality of the season. This was a Chiefs team that after the bye week went 4-4. You look at the yard differential on offense to defense in the season, they were top 10, but the Niners were number 1 in that category. They were number 1 in terms of point differential, just behind, I think it was Baltimore and Dallas. You know, this is a San Francisco team that overall this year, and I think you can make a case that their roster as well is better than Kansas City's. And so from a mathematical standpoint, that's what you're taking into account. It's really hard to quantify someone like Andy Reid. It's hard to quantify Patrick Mahomes because he's had a down year as opposed to the MVP season he had a year ago. So when you look at these two teams on paper, I understand why San Francisco is favored by 2 points. And that is the reason why I think we're also seeing a lot of money on the team that everyone expects to be inevitable, which is the Chiefs. I think the Niners can win this football game, but it's going to be damn tough because the Chiefs have looked much different in the postseason than they did in the regular season.
No question. All right, Kyle Shanahan, he's known as a great schemer, a terrific play designer, the best. The only knock I've ever heard on him is that he has a hard time breaking away from his game plan, his script, because he believes in it so much. I'm wondering, do you think he'll be able to abandon certain things if it's not working and put his team in a position to have success to win?
I think the jury's still out on that. And the biggest question that I have between 2019 and 2024 now, the last 2 times these two teams met in the Super Bowl, is how has Kyle Shanahan matured? Has he evolved? And I think the answer to that question, might it be a bit unfair, lies in Brock Purdy. I think that Kyle Shanahan is inclined to stick to the script, to stick to his game plan. But Brock Purdy is not afraid to break off a play, to improvise, to do things uncharacteristic than any of his predecessors under Kyle Shanahan at the quarterback position. So that, to me, is where I think we won't see Kyle Shanahan necessarily, be a different play caller or in-game manager, but his quarterback is one that can deviate from the plan. And I think that's why we saw them come from behind against Green Bay, saw them come from behind against Detroit, is because Kyle Shanahan's initial script, whether it be on the offensive side or then Steve Wilkes' game plan on the defensive side, was not working. But the X factor was a quarterback that he did not have before. Again, I'm not saying that Brock Purdy is automatically, a top 3 or even top 5 sometimes quarterback, but he is different in that he can use his legs. He's not afraid to put the ball in harm's way, and as we've discussed, he is more even-keeled than anyone that Shanahan has had before in San Francisco. So I'm curious to see if Shanahan has evolved, but more importantly, if he places the trust in Brock Purdy, a guy that's gotten him to the precipice of greatness, and I think has the ability to get him over the hump.
So it sounds like this is a big game for Shanahan, meaning a lot of pressure on him because if he doesn't win, the question will remain if he can win the big one. If he gets over, he buys himself a lot of grace in that town and also can get that monkey off his back. Is that kind of how you see it for him?
Yeah, I think the monkey on the back conversation is actually one that we had today, and I think it has to do more with his dad than his experience in San Francisco and even being there before. Mike Shanahan's got 2 Super Bowls. Kyle Shanahan has been in these type of rooms and situations since the time that he was a toddler. Like, this guy has been groomed for this moment, so the fact that he has not won a Super Bowl yet despite knocking at the door irks a lot of people. I think he's safe in San Francisco no matter what after this game because of his contract extension that was announced at the beginning of this season. But people are going to wonder if he loses, if he is the guy that's coaching across the sideline from him when Andy Reid was in Philadelphia, a guy that could get close, a guy that could help you get to the edge, but couldn't quite push you over the top into the promised land. That's the question that Kyle Shanahan has to answer in this football game on Sunday. And I'm going to be very interested to see how it plays out because, again, he's going up against someone who's got a better quarterback, like you said, has more experience, and I think we both identify as a better head coach.
Evan, I got 2 more questions for you. First off, if the 49ers win, would you give Purdy a new contract or would you wait and see what he has to offer next year to see if this was a one-off?
Well, I don't think he gets the contract immediately, but he's on road to because he does have 2 years left under his rookie deal, so you don't have to pay him now. I do wonder how they try and offset the value that he provides with, I don't know if there's a signing bonus or, Jed York just behind the scenes writes him a little nice check for a few million because this guy, like you said, is the best bargain in football. He's the most valuable player based on his contract to the production. So I don't think they give him a contract yet. I also don't think it's a one-off. I think that's just the unfortunate name of the game. And then if they win it this year, the conversation next season is going to be, well, is Purdy actually happy making less than $1 million as a Super Bowl winning quarterback and a guy that probably is more responsible than anyone else for helping Kyle Shanahan get his Super Bowl that hasn't really happened in years past?
That's a great point. All right, how do you see the game playing out Sunday?
I actually think this is a game that the Niners will win. I don't think it's going to be a blowout by any means, and I think it's going to come down to the wire. But again, I feel like this is a Niners team that has kind of wrestled with its demons of needing to either come from behind and not necessarily play from ahead. I think they have a better roster. And look, again, I was also someone that thought the Eagles were going to win last year because they had the better roster, but it only mattered that Patrick Mahomes was on the Chiefs. So I feel like this is a very different San Francisco team from 2019 until now. I think that their ability to run the football, though, is where they're going to win this game. And then Brock Purdy's able to make enough plays, whether it's through the air or like we saw in the title game with his legs, to maximize enough points. I also just, Chad, from watching this Chiefs teams all year, I do wonder a bit if they're going to come back down to earth because, again, these last 3 games we've seen in the postseason have been vastly different than what we saw the first 17 games of their season. So I feel like the combination of San Francisco having a better roster, maybe being a little more experienced and positioned with a better quarterback, combined with I just feel like there's got to be some regression on the Chiefs side, and it's going to be enough to get San Francisco over the top. I think the final score that I threw out today was San Francisco 27, Kansas City 24. And that's the type of game I see.
Gosh, that'd be a great freaking football game. All right, he's on X at eGittings10. He's with 95.7 the game in San Francisco. Evan, really appreciate you making time. I enjoyed the conversation, man. Enjoy the week and enjoy the game, brother.
Anytime, Chad. Always a pleasure talking to you. Thank you for everything you've done for me, and happy to help you just a little bit in return. So thanks, man.
I appreciate it, buddy. There you go, Evan Gittings. He likes the 49ers to win that 27-24. Well, it's going to be good. Great matchup. I love the dynamic. Kyle Shanahan's desperate to get his first one. Like Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, they can actually relax and just have a good time. They're not even supposed to be there, and they're there. Wild. All right, we'll keep things rolling. Softy going to join us coming up at 5:20. You got the Rip City Drive. All right, Softy coming up at 5:20. I can't stop thinking about Scoot Henderson. I just want to see him play more and more and more. I'm getting excited for Blazer games now to watch Scoot to see what the progress is going to be game to game. All right, I want you to go to our website right now, ripcityradio.com. And if you click on our contests and promotions, you'll find a little icon for Rip City Radio Chillin' for a Cause. Click on that, and it will take you to the main page for Chillin' for a Cause. And then from that page, you're going to find bolded out. It says, check out the auction items up for grabs. Click on that link, and it will take you to our auction page. And right now, you can bid on items. We're raising money and awareness for ALS Northwest. And it's part of our Chillin' for a Cause event coming up on Friday. I'll tell you about that in just a moment. But right now, you can bid. We have autographed Trailblazer basketballs from the entire team. We got multiple basketballs. You can bid on one right now starting at $75. You can bid on the Coors Light Silver Seats. Your chance to have 4 tickets to an upcoming Trailblazer game, and you sit in the Coors Light Silver Seats with your own area, your own table, on the captain's chairs, which are big and cushy and comfortable. And you've got the cold rail technology to keep your beverage cold, and then phone chargers for each person. 4 seats in the Coors Light Silver Seats, hanging out at a Trailblazer game is the best way to do it. We also have autographed Trailblazer pennants starting at $25. You can bid on it right now. You can bid to host the Rip City Drive. You can do it with us. You can do it by yourself. We will assist you in whatever you need. You can talk about whatever you want. You want to talk about the 49ers winning the Super Bowl or the Chiefs? That's fine. You want to talk about the Trailblazers for 3 hours? That's fine. You want to come in and talk about your business and promote your business for 3 hours? That's fine too. Whatever you want to do, it'd be your show. It is your show. You take it over. Show me your business. So you can bid on the Rip City Drive to host it. You can also bid to play golf with me and the Godfather at Forest Hills Golf Course. You can be a Trailblazer reporter for a day. That means you get to join me at Press Row. You'll have a press pass. We go to a Blazer game. You get to see how things operate behind the scenes, and then we get to go down after the game and take part in the post-game presser. Maybe you don't want to do it, but maybe your son or daughter does want to do it. We also have an autographed Scoot Henderson jersey. And then we've got the Live Nation Premium Night, VIP night for 4 at the RVN Style Resorts Amphitheater up in Clark County. You pick the concert. You get the suite area. You have your own server. It's a great night out, enjoying some killer music. Like for me, I would select the Doobie Brothers. But again, that's just me. I would go Doobie Brothers, but you can do whatever you want. Yeah, there's the head coach of the Seattle Seahawks, Michael McDonald, also with the Doobie Brothers. So go to our auction page right now. You can bid on all items, and it's going to benefit ALS Northwest. We're going to be out at the Jackson's Food Mart right across the freeway from my current position. It's right there at the corner of I-5 and 217. It's off Bangy Road. And you can see the Jackson's, which is also a Shell station right from the freeway. And what they're going to do is we're going to be stuck in the cooler with the beer for an entire 3 hours, set at a frosty 37 degrees. Softy from KJR is going to join us at 5:20. He's done this event multiple times. I have not done it, but I want to know what's in store for me. How badly am I going to freeze? Because I'm going to go with layers. Long johns. I'll take some of those little hand warmers and I'll shove them down my pants. I will be bundled up like Chilly Willy. I ain't messing around because it's going to get freaking cold in there. And that's just the way it's going to be. but I'm willing to suffer for the greater good. Now, the Godfather, I don't know if he wants to do it, but he's going to do it. Just stop by so you can see him suffer. But also, we'll have Trailblazer tickets we're going to give away. So if you stop by, you can enter to win Trailblazer tickets. We'll be out there at the Jacksons. Plus, you can stock up on some coldies and some snackies for the big game on Sunday. But that's coming up this Friday at the Jacksons Food Mart off Bangy Road right there at I-5-217. So come on out. Come on down and come check us out. Chilling for a cause. All proceeds of the auction and the event benefit ALS Northwest. What a hideous disease, too. Hideous. My grandfather passed away that way. And for the people and the families that are dealing with it, there's a lot of time and energy and cost that's involved with it. It sucks. It's complete suckage. So please step up and help out and take part in the auction, and let's make this thing go and make it big time. All right, coming up the rest of the way, we have 1 hour to go. We'll talk Super Bowl next. I'll share my thoughts on Patrick Mahomes. At the moment, I knew he was great. And then at 5:20, we'll talk with Dave Softy Muller. I'll get his take on the Super Bowl. I just know without even asking that he's absolutely pulling for Kansas City because he hates the 49ers as a Seahawks guy. We'll get his take on Jedd Fisch at Washington. We'll ask him about Mike McDonald. I still can't believe the Hawks hired a rock and roll star to be their head coach. That's amazing to me. So we'll talk with Softy at 5:20. 503-248-0620. You can also find me on X at Chad Rip City. All right, 5 o'clock chat here. The Portland Trailblazers will now get 3 days off following their last 2 games in Denver. Next up, the Detroit Pistons Thursday night at Moda Center. Tip-off set for 7. They also have a game set for Saturday against the Pelicans. Same tip-off time the night before Super Bowl. NBA trade deadline will be Thursday at noon. Super Bowl 58 set for Sunday at Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas. Chiefs and 49ers. Kickoff scheduled for 3:30 on CBS. Latest check of the line, San Francisco favored by 2. The Eagles will open up next season in Brazil for the NFL's first Brazil game scheduled for September 6th. And the Washington Commanders have fired offensive coordinator Eric Bieniemy, according to head coach Dan Quinn. Trailblazer Ticket Tuesday tomorrow. We got 2 pairs of tickets to give away on the Rip City Drive at 4 and 5. For all of your tickets need, go to trailblazers.com. Brooke Olzendam will join the show tomorrow at 4. It's still unbelievable to me in the world that I grew up in that the NFL is going to have their first Super Bowl in Las Vegas coming up on Sunday. That's something that if you would have said 10 years ago was going to happen, I would have said no flipping way that's going down. There's no way. The NFL is not going to do it. They don't want to be associated with gambling, and they tried to distance themselves from gambling for years, even though they knew that everyone was gambling on their sport. It was so weird growing up, because I always had an interest in the lines, and I would pay attention to the latest lines in the newspaper. But on NFL pregame shows, they never gave it much attention. They'd always bring on like Hammer and Hank or Jimmy the Greek, and they would have like a little portion of the show where they would talk about lines, but it was very vague in detail. Like they acknowledged it, but they didn't really acknowledge it. They knew it was a big deal, but they didn't want anyone to know it was a big deal. And they tried to distance themselves from it for so long. And even, 4, 5, 6 years ago, Roger Goodell's like, we're not into gambling. We don't want any part of gambling. And that's not what we're about. And now that's all they're about. They're in bed with the gambling companies now that the feds have legalized it for the states. And now the states can decide what they want to do. And now it's popping up everywhere. It's wild to me that we're having a Super Bowl in Las Vegas. And we're eventually going to have a Major League Baseball team there. The NBA soon will join it. The leagues can't help themselves. They're money-grubbing whores. And so if they can jump on more money to be able to fit into their pockets, they're going to do it. And the gambling is huge. And they're fully associated now, which is wild to me. Because then when I grew up, that just wasn't a part of the deal. So that's where we're at. Las Vegas. That is crazy. What a great backdrop. I can't think of a better setting or backdrop for a Super Bowl than Las Vegas. I've always wondered what that would look like, and we're about to find out. It's going to be a mad scene. Great game, Chiefs, 49ers. San Francisco right now, according to the latest lines, I went to Vegas Insider. All the major books have it at -2. So that's where we're at with the game. Dave Softy Mahler is going to join us coming up here in roughly 15 minutes. But I want to talk about Patrick Mahomes for a moment. Just a little background on me. You know, growing up, I'm not a scout. I played a little bit of sports. I've never been a coach. But the one thing I do have in my pocket is that I've watched countless hours of the NFL and sports in general for the last 40 years of my life. Since 1986, I have been watching games live, recording them on VHS tape, and watching them over and over and over again. The only difference is now I go to YouTube and pull up games and watch them over and over and over again. I did the same thing with the NBA, especially the playoffs and the finals. I would watch and rewatch, and a lot of times the second, third, or 10th time through was my favorite because I would pick up on something I had missed. And the one thing I've been able to do over the course of time is it gave me an eye for what's great and what's not. I know greatness when I see it, and you probably do too. Now, I'm still an idiot. I thought C.J. Stroud would be horrific. I thought he was surrounded by great talent at Ohio State, and he was the benefactor of that. And right now, he's probably top 5 NFL quarterback in the league. That's how good he is. I thought Caleb Swanigan should probably start for the Trailblazers his rookie year. So there's a lot of things I don't know, but I do know greatness when I see it. And I remember this date forever now because it reminded me of when the Broncos run ended and when the Chiefs run started. And then it reminded me, like, man, this is probably what it felt like for all those teams for over a decade, 16 years, when John Elway was in control, because they knew that they probably didn't have a chance to win the division. But October 1st, 2018, I was at a game in Denver, Chiefs, Broncos, Monday Night Football. And I'll never forget it because it was the first time that I've seen a quarterback and walked away saying, that guy's John Elway. That guy right there is as good as Elway, and he might be better. And it was hard for me to admit that because Elway's my guy, and I hold him in high regard, like I do the greats. But that's Patrick Mahomes. And the Broncos in that game led it 23-13, fourth quarter. And Mahomes led 2 touchdown drives in the fourth. They won the game 27-23. It included a Mahomes scramble completion on second down and 30, which allowed them to convert on third down and get a fresh set of downs. The most ridiculous left-handed pass on third down to Tyreek Hill for a first down. Ridiculous. And then he converted a fourth down. I just marveled at the arm strength. I couldn't believe the athleticism. And I was shocked at the poise operating the offense, working with Andy Reid in his first full year as a starter. It was mind-boggling. I'm like, how can he be that good? On that night, early in his career, I was comfortable saying that Mahomes was the best quarterback I'd ever seen. Now, I didn't go around voicing that right away because people get so hung up on the rings and the GOAT debate that you instantly look like a buffoon. But I knew that night that I was looking at an all-timer. And I've seen all the greats in their prime. Montana, Steve Young, John Elway, Dan Marino, Jim Kelly, Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, Drew Brees, Big Ben, Troy Aikman. And those guys are elite legends. But I've never seen one like Mahomes. To combine the athleticism, the smarts, the arm strength, all the different abilities you need to play that position, and he does it at a high level. And he's getting better, which is really scary. So let me explain to you why this Super Bowl has got me all twisted up. If you look at it on paper, logically, even for you 49er fans out there, look at it on paper and logically ask yourself the following questions. Number one, who's got the best quarterback? That's the Chiefs. They've got Patrick Mahomes, who is the best in the NFL. Who's got the better coach in the game? Well, Kyle Shanahan's great, but Andy Reid right now is in legend status, and he's got multiple championships. Reid is the better coach with more experience. And who's got the best defense in the game? That'd be the Chiefs. They got the number one defense. Now, if you take all that information, and I think you'd all agree on that, and then you take a look at the line in Vegas, and the 49ers are favored by 2. It's like, wait, what? Let me get this straight. I get Mahomes, best defense, and Andy Reid, and you're going to give me points? It's a no-brainer. Kansas City all day, baby. And that's where I get twisted up. The best advice my dad ever gave me was, hey, Chad, if it looks too good to be true, it probably is. If it looks too good to be true, it probably is. And my mind right now, it can't see a pathway for the 49ers. The Chiefs getting points, looks like free money, and that's why I think San Francisco is probably going to win. It's going to go the other way. And what do we hear from Evan Giddings? He said the sharps are on the Chiefs. There's probably going to be a lot of people pounding Mahomes and the Chiefs and +2, and there's going to be mad money coming in on Kansas City. And that's why I'm twisted up, because when it looks too good to be true, it probably is. And it's hard for me to see it any other way. It's like, dude, Mahomes and the best D, yeah, I like that team. So that's where I'm at. I don't know what to think about the game anymore. And by the time Friday rolls around, I'll be even more twisted up. But it is weird, because when you look at it, it's like, dude, that's free money. Mahomes, the defense, the way they're playing right now, Andy Reid? Against Brock Purdy? Crazy. Mahomes is the best. I cannot believe how good he is. I really do hate the Chiefs as a Bronco fan, but Mahomes is so good that I just tip the cap and respect him. He's just too good. I've never seen a guy with the unique combination of what he has. And I would choose him to be the quarterback of my team and to run a team in any situation. The mobility, the ability to scramble and buy time for his receivers, the ridiculous arm strength. When you have free moment, you should probably go to YouTube and just put in Patrick Mahomes pass against Atlanta. And I think it might have been his first full season as a starter. I think that's when it was. He had this pass in preseason where he unloaded a pass to Tyreek Hill, 70 yards in the air. It looked effortless. I just marvel at him. And it drives me crazy because he's a member of the Kansas City Chiefs. But that's how good he is. He's Kobe. He's MJ. He's pick whatever great athlete you want. That's Patrick Mahomes. And that's who Kansas City has. And that's why it's really hard to see them not getting over in this spot. So for the 49ers, it's pretty simple. Kyle Shanahan has got to be flexible. So the plays he draws up, the game plan he comes up with, if it's not working, hey, dude, hey, Kyle, mix it up. And by the way, don't forget you've got Christian McCaffrey, who after Mahomes is probably the next best player on the football field. Might want to feed him the rock. Also, hey, Steve Wilkes, just in case you were unclear, the Chiefs have a tight end named Travis Kelce. The guy's freaking awesome. He's a legend as well, and he's a Hall of Famer. He might be the best player to ever play that position. You may want to come up with a game plan to where he's not running free and getting untouched at the line of scrimmage, to where he doesn't have 11 targets and 11 receptions, and he's killing you. I'll never understand how that guy's running free all the time. Like, dude, you know he's going to get the ball. I know he's going to get the ball. You know he's going to get the ball. Mahomes knows he's going to throw him the ball, and yet he's still wide open. I mean, how the fuck? Anyone but him. Anyone. Put 3 guys on him and dare those other young receivers to beat you. If you get beat by Rice or Valdez Scantling or whoever, who gives a flip? Just don't let it be him. Oh, my goodness. And by the way, the 49ers defensive line, look, how much money do you guys need? You're making the big bucks. You might want to step up and play a game that somewhat comes close to equaling your salary. Those guys have not had a good run of late, especially in the last 2 playoff games. Green Bay had their way on them, and so did Detroit. But thankfully for San Francisco, Dan Campbell's a dum-dum, and he opened the door. The 49ers did make a great comeback against the Lions, but it wouldn't be possible without the assistance of Dan Campbell. But Sunday's going to be awesome. What an opportunity for Brock Purdy. Go out there and beat Mahomes, and he could just walk off the field with both fingers extended up in the air. Yeah, how do you like those? How do you like them apples? All right, Softies coming up next. Chad doing here. Join Dwight and I Friday, February 9th from the Jackson's Food Mart off Bangy Road right there at I-5 and 217 for Chillin' for a Cause. You can stop by to enter and win Trailblazer tickets. Say hi to us. We'll be in a cooler at 37 degrees benefiting ALS Northwest. All right, I just placed the link to our auction in our YouTube chat. I know it's not the easiest thing to find on ripcityradio.com. That's why I've been going over and over and over it again to make sure people can find it. But I did. For those of you watching on YouTube right now, I placed the direct link for the auction page into the YouTube chat. So you can go and look at the items. You can bid on the items and help support ALS Northwest. And that's what it's all about. So we're going to be out there on Friday. It's February 9th, this coming Friday, at the Jackson's Food Mart, right there off Bangy Road, I-5 and 217. The Godfather will be there. I will be there. We'll be inside of the 37-degree cooler, talking sports, getting ready for the big game. You can stop by and stockpile on cold beverages, which are necessary for a Super Bowl. And you can enter to win Trailblazer tickets and take part in something, bigger than yourself, which is to help families and people in need by donating to ALS Northwest. But we have some great auction items up. So if you go to ripcityradio.com, you find the icon at the bottom of the homepage, or by going to our contest, you can see the icon for Chillin' for a Cause. Click on that. It will take you to the page. You'll find the link for the auction, or just go to the YouTube chat right now and you can find it. But I do appreciate your help. You can reach out to me on X at Chad and Rip City. Telephone number 503-248-0620. It is 523 here on the Rip City Drive. All right, joining us right now from our sister station, 93.3 KJR FM up in Seattle, it is Dave Softy Mahler. Softy, thanks for the time.
Why is it always sister station? Why can't it be brothers? Why can't it be cousins or just kind of buddies?
It can be whatever you want it to be. Whatever you prefer, Softy. You prefer brothers, cousins?
Wow. Jeez, that's kind of kinky, Chad. Holy moly, my God. I thought you were a married guy, for crying out loud. Let's just keep it at sisters and move on.
All right. I need your help on some real quick. Dwight and I are going to be broadcasting Friday, Chillin' for a Cause at the Jacksons off Bangy Road in Lake Oswego from 3 to 6. You've done the same thing, freezing for a reason. What should we expect in the cooler at about 37 degrees for 3 hours?
It doesn't feel that cold until you've been in there for about 20 minutes, and then it's ridiculous. So I would just say during every commercial break, walk outside and reheat. Otherwise, you're going to get a severe cold by the end of your broadcast, and nobody wants that, man. Plus, doing a show from a beer cooler with cases and cases and cases of beer around you and not being able to drink one of them until the show's over is a little bit problematic for me. I don't know what your deal is with booze these days, but for me, I need it like I need air, to be honest with you. Maybe 30 years in this business has done that to me, so it's going to be freezing cold in there, even when it doesn't feel like it. And the amount of willpower it takes to not crack open one of those beers in the beer cooler is really amazing. So I'm curious to see how you get through it.
All right, now did you go long johns? Did you layer? What was the plan?
Yeah, I wore long johns and jeans, and then a sweatshirt, parka, beanie, gloves, the whole thing. And that's the other thing, man. Having a laptop in there with Wi-Fi or like using your 5G signal on your cell phone, and then having to type on a laptop with gloves on is kind of problematic. And then the other problem too is that your laptop is not going to work very well after about an hour or so inside that cooler, man. So I don't know. I mean, good luck, dude. We don't really do much of that anymore because I kind of got, a little bit sick and tired of getting hypothermia every year. So I'm curious to see how many times you do this after this maiden voyage.
All right, I'll report back. We're talking with Softy from KJR up in Seattle. Kalen DeBoer is now at Bama. Jed Fish hired to replace him. I am a huge fan of his, Softies. What do you think about the hire?
Well, you know what? We're going to find out. I think I like it so far. I mean, a lot of people are buying in because of what he did at Arizona, going from 1-11 to 10-3, winning that, game against Oklahoma. I mean, nobody played in the bowl game, so I'm not sure how much stock you can put in that. But Arizona really kind of fought everybody hard. They lost 3 games, and I think all of them were by 7 points or less, and 2 of them were in overtime. One of them was in double overtime to USC. So they were in every single game they played. Which, look, I mean, a lot of teams can probably say that, but when you go 1-10 or 1-11, whatever it was 2 years earlier, I think it's pretty significant. So what he did at Arizona was pretty impressive. He's been doing a fairly decent job of hanging on to recruits and Washington players. He's lost almost everybody from the offensive line, and he did lose Jabbar Muhammad to Oregon, which makes you sick. You know, if I'm a Duck fan, I'm not even sure if I want Jabbar Muhammad playing for Oregon after he played for UW, and vice versa. It's the second Husky player that Oregon's ripped off from Washington the last couple of years. The first one being Sam Taimani, obviously, and now it's Jabbar Muhammad. So that kind of makes me sick, to be honest with you. But I got to get over it, and I will, maybe one day, eventually. But the offensive line is kind of in shambles right now, and to me, that's the biggest thing that he's got to address is finding guys to protect Will Rogers next year.
What do you think is going to be the biggest challenge for him year one?
Yeah, I think just completely reconstructing the offensive line. I mean, again, it was the best offensive line in college football, and now every single one of them are gone, including some of their top backups. You know, Julius Belo and Nate Kalepo went to Ole Miss, Parker Brailsford's at Alabama, and Garen Hatchett is at Oklahoma. So you can argue they've lost their top 6 offensive linemen to the transfer portal and to the NFL draft. So it's going to be an entirely new offensive line next year. It's going to be an entirely new offense. Every starter from the offense is gone. You know, I don't know how many times you pick up like Phil Steele's magazine every offseason, but I'm not sure if I ever remember a Power 5 team looking at Phil Steele's magazine and having a big 0 next to returning starters on offense from the year before, especially one that just played for a national championship. So that, to me, is going to be the biggest challenge of all, is just completely reconstructing the offense from where it was a year ago.
All right.
With a bunch of guys that, look, some of them have played together, but a lot of them haven't. You know, I mean, you got some good players, Will Rogers from Mississippi State, Jonah Coleman, the running back from Arizona, but a lot of these guys haven't played together, man. So thank God they got a cupcake non-conference schedule before the Big Ten play starts.
Well, my reason for optimism with Fish is that I think long-term he'll turn out to be a better recruiter than DeBoer.
Right. Well, here's the thing about DeBoer. He's never been anywhere long enough to let us know if he can recruit or not, right? I mean, Fresno a couple years, UW a couple years, did a great job in the portal, obviously, filling some key holes, including running back and quarterback and linebacker, you know, corner with Jabbar Muhammad coming from Oklahoma State, the traitor who went to Oregon, the mercenary who went to Oregon. Can you tell that I'm pissed off about that, by the way?
Yeah, I think
and
so.
So he really did a great job filling in holes, but he's never been anywhere long enough to make his high school recruiting matter. And so I think you might be right. When it's all said and done, we'll see what Jedd Fisch can do. One of the things about Jedd Fisch that's been used to describe him is he's a maniacal recruiter. Those words have been used a lot to describe Jedd Fisch. So far, so good.
All right, John Schneider got to hire his first head coach. I thought it was going to be Dan Quinn, but he chose Mike McDonald, who was the Ravens defensive coordinator. What do you think about the move?
So far, I love it. I mean, it's only been a week, man. I mean, it's the offseason. Nothing's going on. I mean, you got to be a complete bozo to lose the press conference. And the same thing with Jedd Fisch and Mike McDonald. These guys are going to be beloved until they show people a reason not to love them. And that reason may come starting in September for both these guys. But I think it's great. I think it's weird that you got 2 guys in the city. Neither one of them played college football, right? I mean, Mike McDonald and Jedd Fisch, neither one played college football. Jedd Fisch didn't even play high school football, for crying out loud. So that's kind of a sign of the times. But I like the fact that they have the hottest defensive coordinator in the NFL. I love the fact that he's got, obviously, a lot of great NFL people with him, including Leslie Frazier. I think a lot of people around the NFL think the Seahawks hit a home run. I can't find one person around the NFL, Chad, that doesn't like this hire. So far, so good with both these guys.
I've seen a couple of names out there, Jay Harbaugh, Ryan Grubb. Who else do you think he might be looking to add to his staff?
Well, I think you're looking at guys that he was with in Michigan. I mean, Josh Gaddis is the offensive coordinator at Maryland, who was with him in Michigan for a while. Tanner Angstrom is the passing game coordinator at Detroit, and there's some ties there, obviously, with him as well. So I think you're looking for, obviously, a head coach of the offense. I mean, if you're the defensive coordinator and you're the head coach, he may not be the defensive coordinator in name, but let's face it, it's going to be his defense.
Yeah.
Just like it was Pete Carroll's defense when he was here. He needs a head coach of the offense. So who's that guy going to be? Because that's a pretty damn important hire for Mike McDonald to get this right, to hire the best offensive coordinator he can find to run that thing. And I asked him at the press conference last Wednesday if he really needed to find somebody who's called plays in the NFL, and he said no. He said it's not at the top of our list. So that would mean that guys like Ryan Grubb are certainly up for consideration. Absolutely.
Do you think Geno will be the quarterback next year?
Yeah, I think he'll be the quarterback next year. I don't know about 2025 and beyond. I mean, I think Geno Smith is a good quarterback. Is he an elite level, championship level quarterback? Probably not. I mean, to be fair to him, they haven't had a great defense the last couple of years either, so that really hasn't helped him out. I think Geno Smith, Chad, for what he's been asked to do, he's been fine. He's been more than fine, as a matter of fact. He's made a couple of Pro Bowls now. Kind of feels like everybody makes the Pro Bowl these days, but still making the Pro Bowl and being selected for it shows you the kind of level of play that Geno Smith has been delivering the last couple of years. But I do think to win a title, you got to have an elite level quarterback, or you have to be elite at something else. And right now, the Seahawks are not elite at anything. I think they're going to draft the quarterback eventually. So I think Geno's the guy for 24, but I'm not sure about beyond.
All right, who do you like in the Super Bowl? I would imagine for you, the 49ers being there is like the Ducks being in the national championship, like someone kicking you in the kneecap. But who do you like in the game?
Yeah. Not even close to being as bad as Oregon being there. It's bad, but not that bad. I mean, that's like disgusting. Yeah, you talk about putting a lipstick on a pig with Oregon playing for the national championship game. This is like putting lipstick on a goat with San Francisco. So, I mean, look, eventually they're going to win it. They've been here now three times in the last 5 years. They haven't won it in 30 years. It's going to happen eventually. I'm pulling for Kansas City, as you know, hardcore in this game, but I think San Francisco is going to get them. I think it's their year on Sunday, and I hope that I'm wrong.
All right, Softy, KGR 93.3 FM up in Seattle, our brother station. Softy, man, thanks for the time.
Yeah. You bet, buddy. Anytime. See ya.
I love Softy. Absolutely love him. It drives him crazy, though. The Oregon Ducks and his hatred for the Ducks always right there at the top of his mind. He can't stand the 49ers either, though. He hopes the Chiefs win, but he thinks the 49ers are going to get the job done. I do think Jedd Fisch is a great hire. It's going to be a difficult first year because of all the players he lost. I thought Softy made a great point where how often do you open up the Phil Steele magazine to kick off a new football season and you look at players returning on both sides of the ball and it says 0? But that's going to be the case for Washington. That's a lot of talent, a lot of experience, a lot of leadership that's going to be gone. But I believe in Jedd Fisch because he's worked with the greatest football minds in the game. Nothing has been handed to him. He's had to grind for everything he's gotten. And as Softy said, and I've heard the same thing about him, he's a maniacal recruiter. Did a heck of a job at Arizona. A heck of a job. Recruited his tail off, and look at the quick turnaround. 1 win. And then within 2 years had him to 10-plus wins. That's impressive. Impressive. So I like the hire. I think Jedd Fisch is going to be fine. And I think long-term, he's going to be a better recruiter than Kalen DeBoer. Now, with Mike Macdonald, I have no idea how he's going to be as a head coach. I have no idea. And that's what's funny about these press conferences. And when you hire a new coach or a coach with no experience, or you draft that big-time player in the first round, every team got the player they wanted. Every team hired the coach they wanted. It's all sunshine and rainbows until it's not. So I have no idea how Mike Macdonald's going to turn out as coach. I just know that everyone around him, his players, the coaches who have worked with him, his colleagues, they all respect the heck out of him. Great guy, great family guy, bright defensive mind, and knows how to connect with the players. So it would appear, based on the people around him, that he has the necessary skills to be able to make this happen. But as you know, being a coordinator is one thing, and then all of a sudden taking over an entire football team and running it and laying a foundation for culture and having to answer all the questions and being in control of everything, it's so much more and so much more difficult than anything you could imagine as being a coordinator. So you just don't know how a guy's going to respond in that situation until they're there. That's the hard part about it. But I do like Macdonald. And I do give John Schneider credit as the Seahawks general manager for having the balls to be able to hire someone outside of a tree that he knew. Dan Quinn was the connection. Dan Quinn would have been the easy choice for Schneider because he knew him. He was connected to him. And he was there when Pete Carroll was there. And Dan Quinn's had success. He took a team to a Super Bowl as a head coach with the Atlanta Falcons. But I just don't think if you're trying to establish your own rule and reign, as John Schneider is, as the general manager making his first coach hire, you probably want to go outside of the Pete Carroll tree. Bring in someone different, think outside of the box, and you'll probably hit a home run. Probably. We'll see how it plays out. What did Softy say? One more year for Geno, and then they'll transition and find the other quarterback. So that's where we're at. I don't know. I like John Schneider. I trust John Schneider. I think he's super sharp, smart. Just look at the work he's done since he's been there. He and Pete Carroll had that terrific synergy. But my guess is, he and McDonald, with the way that Schneider knows how to work with people, they'll create the same type of synergy, and they'll be able to work together to make sure they crush the draft, because the last couple of drafts for the Seahawks has been dynamite. Dynamite! And that's what it's all about. Going to the draft, restocking your team with talent, and finding multiple guys who can contribute and be starters that you're not paying big money to. They just got to get the quarterback situation figured out like the majority of the NFL. Oh, I saw a bunch of mocks. There's a lot of mock drafts right now that have Bo Nix going to the Denver Broncos. I don't know. I don't know if the Broncos can afford to spend the number 12 overall pick on Bo Nix when he's probably going to be available in the second round. He's probably a second-round quarterback. And the Broncos have like 5 or only 6 draft picks. Can you afford, when you have so many needs on your team, to take a risk on a guy in Nix in the first round? Yeah, I don't think so. I don't know. That's dangerous. That's risky. Might be better to wait till the second round and see if he's still there. All right. Big thanks to Softy. Big thanks to Evan Giddings. And Friday, Dwight and I will be out at Jackson's Food Mart off Bangor Road in Lake Oswego, I-5 and 217 for Chillin' for a Cause. The Blazers get 3 days off. Next game coming up on Thursday against the Pistons. And then Saturday against the Pelicans. No game on Sunday as we get ready for the big game with the Chiefs and 49ers. All right, 503-248-0620. You'll find me on X at Chad Rip City. If you're on hold, stay there. We'll get to your phone calls next.
Is there a typo here?
All right, high five time. I would like to hand my high five out to Tracy Chapman for her performance last night at the Grammys with Luke Combs. Take a listen to this. Yeah, that was terrific. I thought the performance last night from those two was sensational, but Tracy Chapman absolutely crushed it. And you could see the joy in her face when she was on stage right before the song began and the applause and the warm reception she got. Man, that song sounds as good as it did back in 1988 when it came out. So big props to Tracy for the work last night at the Grammys. Big time right there. Big time. Let's go out to the phones. Let's go down to Vegas, the site of Super Bowl 58, and bring on Raider Mike. What's up, playa? Where you at?
Dude, what you just did made me cry. Tracy rocks. Always has. That album was... I didn't know how to explain that album when it came. Because I was into Jane's Addiction then. And that hit me sideways. And it just brings a smile to my face. You go, girl. I haven't seen what you just played. I'm going to seek it out. Now, we got an ass clown of red floating into my town. And I don't know what to do.
Are you talking about the 49ers or the Chiefs? You're referring to the Chiefs, I would assume.
Well, they're both red.
Who do you hate more?
I grew up in Oakland, Chad.
Who do you hate more, though, 49ers or
The
Chiefs?
Winers. I'm all over the Winers. I mean, your 5 o'clock segment about Elway, and then you moved it in. Go ahead. Play the music.
You want to hear it right now?
To the Muppet King.
All right, you got it.
Oh, I need the Muppet King music now.
Ask and you shall receive.
I was kind of just scrambling left, and I knew I couldn't throw it with my right hand, and I knew we needed the first down.
Raider Mike, a franchise quarterback and arguably the best ever should not sound like this.
Exactly. It's.
So I kind of just like shot putted it to Tyreek.
I don't know what to do with it, Chad. I just don't.
You just got to sit back.
He is our mortal enemy. This dude's going to be around another 10 years.
I know. He's not going anywhere. We're screwed.
Oh, no.
I mean,
You had Elway against my Raiders.
How much heart and determination that we have.
It's
running backs,
insane
receivers, everybody
dynamic,
fighting,
man. It
coming out with the
sucks.
I know, man. It does suck. No, dude, it's done. The AFC West, it's over, man. Let's just face it. Let's just call it what it is right now. Our teams suck, and the Chiefs have Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid, and the Chargers now have Justin Herbert and Jim Harbaugh. We screwed, man. We done. We got nothing.
No, we're not, Chad.
We're done.
This is why.
Okay.
We've decided to go the other way.
Yeah.
Just bring 4 animals on the line.
Yeah, and who's going to be your quarterback?
Malcolm Kuntz, Tyree, Max Crosby, and we're going to get one more. It's going to be Chris Jones. We're going to eat quarterbacks like we used to in the 80s.
Okay, but who's going to throw the football for you? Because you guys don't have a quarterback either. That's the problem.
Whoa. You got me on that one. It ain't Akon and Young Jeezy. No, it ain't him. Not happening.
I know. Like I said, we're done.
We'll figure it out. Dude, I miss you.
I miss you
Come
too.
visit me in Vegas soon.
Dude, I miss you, Raider
I just-
Mike. You're the best. Yeah, the Raiders haven't figured it out, Raider Mike. You just are too proud as a Raider fan to admit that your team's done. My team's done. We got nothing, man. The Chiefs have Patrick Mahomes. The Chargers have Justin Herbert. The Broncos and Raiders are screwed until further notice. We don't have a quarterback. They don't have a quarterback. What's really going to suck is when the Broncos don't draft a quarterback because they don't have enough draft picks and they sign Jimmy Garoppolo to bridge the gap. That's going to be a lot of fun. Really looking forward to that, and I bet you that's what happens. And the Raiders, Aiden O'Connell, whoever. The Raiders have stunk to high heaven for years. They don't have a quarterback. The Broncos don't have a quarterback. Patrick Mahomes is going nowhere. It's a problem. It is a major problem when teams solve that position and you've got coach and quarterback figured out. You're set. The Chargers are set. Justin Herbert finally has an adult coach that knows what he's doing. And there's no doubt in my mind that the Chargers are going to be great. Justin Herbert is probably on his knees right now thanking the good Lord above for what he was given in a head coach. Thank you, Lord. I went from, well, you know who I went from, Helfrich to Taggart to Cristobal to Lynn to Staley. Dum-dum, 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 dum-dum. All of them. And now he's got Jim Harbaugh, one of the best. His profile is about to be raised significantly. Sean Payton's a great coach, but he ain't got a quarterback. And I don't care what you're doing as a head coach. If you ain't got a quarterback, you done too. Look at Bill Belichick, the genius, the greatest of all time. No Tom Brady. He looks pretty bad, actually. Oh, whatever. I had my time. My time's over. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. I had Elway for 16 years, Manning for 4. I had my time in the sun. And now it's time to sit back and watch other fan bases go gangster because they're going to be great for a long time. And that's how good Patrick Mahomes is. They're not even that good this year, and they're in the Super Bowl because they have a great quarterback. That tells you how bad Brandon Staley was as coach, that he had Justin Herbert, and he still couldn't get that team over the hump. To the playoffs once, they dropped a game where they gave a big lead to Jacksonville. That's how dumb he was. And now they got Jim Harbaugh. Andy Reid couldn't figure out the big one, and then he got Patrick Mahomes, and now he looks like a genius. Oh, well. All right, big thanks to Evan Giddings from 95.7 The Game. Also, Dave Softy Mahler. Tomorrow morning, Justin Myers will have Rip City Mornings at 6. I'll kick off the Rip City Drive at 3. Brooke Olsendam going to join us at 4 right here on 620 Rip City Radio. For Michael Shacker, I'm Chad Doing. Have a good night, my friends.